race fans, to episode number 12 of the eKarting News Debrief podcast. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole, just about a week on from the SuperKarts USA SuperNationals in Las Vegas. David and I'm close to being rested up. I'm not sure, David, if you're fully rested up yet, but I think I need a couple more deep sleeps to get through it all. It was a long week.
Yeah, it's adding Thanksgiving on and all the eating and drinking, and yeah, it's like a 2-week marathon of eating and drinking.
So there was, that's true. It didn't really stop, did it? Except for we added in the tryptophan from the turkey on Thanksgiving to knock us out on the couch for a couple of hours for sure. As we get into this podcast, I do want to remind people that they're able to subscribe to the EKN podcasts on iTunes. All you need to do is search EKN Radio Network. Don't look for eKartingNews.com. Search for EKN Radio Network. You'll be able to subscribe to all the podcasts that we'll be doing throughout 2017 and 2018, all available on iTunes. We are going to kind of shift the editorial focus with this Debrief podcast. The name, of course, Debrief, kind of sets us up for what we'll do post-race weekends. That's what we've used from the very beginning. But what we'll do moving into, well, actually, with this particular broadcast, and then moving into 2018, David and I used a debrief as a post-race, like a Monday or a Tuesday debrief, where we'll talk about what happened throughout the weekend. We have a couple of new podcasts we're going to be bringing onto the EKN Radio Network, which will debut in December on the website itself. A couple new podcasts will have different themes, that kind of thing. So this particular deal, the Debrief podcast, though, is all going to be focused on SuperNationals for this particular issue. So this is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of stuff going on in the sport. We'll get to that next week. But right now, we're going to wrap up what was an absolutely unbelievable weekend in Las Vegas. Today's show is being presented by Cooper Tires. Cooper Tires is the presenting sponsor as well of the Mazda Road to Indy, and they were thrilled to be back as the title sponsor of EKN's coverage of the SCUSA SuperNationals in Las Vegas. Cooper Tires' dedication to Junior Formula Motorsports dates back over a decade, and they have been along for the ride with many of the IndyCar stars, present and future. For more information on their products, visit coopertire.com and use their dealer locator to find a retailer nearest you. You can also catch up on the latest in motorsports by following them on Twitter and Instagram. Look for the @Team Cooper Tire account. All right, David, jumping right into the SCUSA SuperNationals. Always an event that you and I both look forward to getting to, but it's also all-encompassing. I know that it's 6 months prep for SCUSA. It's at least a month prep for you and I, and I'll put a lot of props on you, my friend. You bury yourself for probably at least a month, 2-3 weeks for sure, in terms of doing season previews or race previews. What were your thoughts? Let's just get overall thoughts before we jump into talking about the race itself.
Well, going into it, it was great to be at a new venue, to be on a pavement that is fairly new. Obviously, we saw throughout the weekend that you can't obviously get rid of all the bumps in pavement, but the pavement was smooth. It was a new layout, a new larger paddock. I mean, we had plenty of space. Overall, I mean, just looking at it from above, it looked like a really cool layout in terms of paddock and track, and being right there on the Vegas Strip. Right next to Circus, right there on that street.
Yeah, I think, Dave, that was a kind of a cool deal. You and I, of course, sitting at start finish in the Cooper Tire Tower. When we looked right across, the Circus was there. It was in the far part of the track, as of course the venue right between Paradise Road and actually on the Strip. You and I walked around the track and all the way around the outside of the track to see Circus. But it really did. I think the Strip location really did kind of present itself at night, didn't it? As soon as the sun went down, Circus was right there, the Encore Hotel, everything was just right in front of us. It really did. It had a different feel, I think, because we were so close to, really on the Strip, but so close to a hotel like Circus.
Without a doubt. I mean, before, when we were at the other parking lot the last 2 years, it was, it's kind of a weird location. We're just kind of like in the convention center. But now this time we felt like we were more part of the Vegas atmosphere, like you felt with being at the Rio, where you could see all of those massive buildings and casinos right there. So, and obviously with those new areas being under construction, we always seem to have construction in the background at the Supernats. But I think it would have been it could be a possible better location to return to back later once those buildings are done, and even make it more of a better skyline for backdrop.
Yeah, it's really hard to beat the skyline when we're at the Rio because, of course, the entire strip's behind us. This was pretty cool, though, and I think the atmosphere was fantastic. David, after we got through the morning sessions on Wednesday, which, of course, is just the 4 practice sessions in the morning, 4 practice sessions in the afternoon, you and I were able to get some feedback from the drivers in terms of the track itself. And I got to say, normally you and I are going to sit down and some guys are going to tell us, I don't like this, I don't like this. That particular part's way too bumpy. You're going to get some bumps, as you said, but we didn't hear people go, oh my God, the track's really bumpy. For all intents and purposes, everybody said the track was pretty smooth. But you got to give props to Bonner Moulton, Howie Idelson, and Wesley Boswell. The layout that they were able to bring in terms of the flow, the challenge, the hairpins. There was such a great mix of corners, and all the feedback we got, beginning with Billy Musgrave saying it was probably the best SuperNationals track he's ever been on. I think that you got to give props to those 3 guys for really coming with something new. And we shouldn't be surprised either, David, should we? They did one last year, at least Bonner and Howie did. They bring Wesley in to come in to have another voice. Having done that one track, they had made mistakes. They admittedly made mistakes they didn't like. They came back with a track this year that was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, with the location that we're at, it's hard to test and to see what works and what doesn't. I mean, this is basically the third attempt for these guys, or second attempt for these guys.
Yeah.
And they went off last year's area, which is a completely different area where we were at. So, I mean, you can kind of take what you had last year, use it, learn from it. And obviously there were things that they probably didn't like about this year's track, but overall, like you said, it was probably one of the better circuits that we've had laid out for the SuperNationals.
David, there's obviously some positives and negatives. One of the weird things about this particular venue and all, not just talk about the track itself, we've never had this kind of shape. It was obviously very long and rectangular between Paradise Road and the Strip. The track itself very long and narrow. The paddock very long and narrow. I did like the long, narrow paddock because there was that one main road right at the middle where you kind of came through the big arch of Supercarts USA into the venue, and you just walk straight to the track and everything peeled off on left and right. One of the major issues, I think, and everybody brought it to us, they brought it to SCUSA, was the fact that the grandstands on the front straightaway just didn't play well in being able to see the far part of the racetrack. The track was so long. Had they had the grandstands, I think, on the other, like on the flat side, the straightaway side, that would have been much better. But again, they would have had to bring fencing in again, get the whole thing relicensed or for the insurance and for the liability. And that was a shame. I think that people were complaining about not being able to see, but that's always the nature, I think, of a street course as well. You're using those water barriers; they're pretty tall. It's always tough to see on a street course unless you have that raised area.
Well, you can look at when we were at Sam Boyd Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, there were sections of the track that nobody could see.
True.
I mean,
I didn't bring that up. You're right.
We couldn't even see at from where we announced from. We had to wait till they came back around from the other end of the stadium to be able to see what happened.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, I mean, and none of these people have probably, I would say 95% of these people have never been to Rock Island. You only see the straightaway there.
That's true.
So
no, you're right.
Yeah.
You got to give. There's give and take. You're right, David. We go to a temporary circuit. That temporary circuit is going to give you the level playing field. Nobody's been on that racetrack before, so everybody comes at a level playing field. But part of that fact is that you're not going to get the fantastic viewing angles that you would if there was a raised area, or like you said, at Sam Boyd Stadium, we lost them for 30 seconds at one point when they went to around the back part of the racetrack. So you're right. No, good point. Great point. Let's talk atmosphere. One of the things I love about the SuperNats, and I think you do as well, and everybody does, is the fact that there's just that air of electricity all the time, and it builds from Wednesday to Thursday to Friday, the heat race, the heat races, then the last chance qualifiers on Saturday, then Super Sunday. You know what? We've been through some tough weather with some rain back in, I think it was 2013. But David, blue sky, really comfortable temperatures. The standard cool temps and evening wind in Vegas, but otherwise, man, Chamber of Commerce weather all week.
Yeah, the wind really hit us pretty good this time. Most of the time we have it at our back, so it doesn't really affect us that hard. But this time it's like directly into our face. And it was, I mean, we're talking 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts that were blowing our laptops up off the table. It was pretty wild.
I'm fairly happy that we didn't have any major catastrophes because you and I, as you said, standing up, watching races, calling races, and having the laptop blow essentially off the table into our, we were making sure we were standing against the table because the laptop was blowing right into our chest. It was unbelievable. A good thing you had the monitor strapped down. That was that was pretty solid as well.
That was the SCUSA staff definitely helped us there, bringing those over. It was just, I had no idea what they were coming over to do, and I'm like, "What do you guys? Why are you carrying trailer straps?" I'm like, "Oh, this is a great idea.
We'll take it." Yeah, because it was blowing everything over. Now, the one good thing is that we didn't have the issue of barriers blowing around. SCUSA did a good job getting them bolted down in the right places, and the track remained consistent. We didn't lose the track at all in the 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. That was, I think, a positive for sure.
No, I think the issue we had with barriers was where the water barriers were in certain spots that they shouldn't be. One of them was coming out of turn 4 on the exit where we saw a stoppage in racing because of guys breaking the water barriers from contact. Well, again, you have to further emphasize, you cannot use the water barriers as the border of the racetrack. It's supposed to be there for safety and to be a secondary stop if a cart goes through a Tech Pro or a Scribner barrier.
Yeah, agreed, Dave. You and I have talked about this. That's one design element that SCUSA needs to bring to this temporary circuit. If you have a water barrier at an exit point on the racetrack or even an entry point at the racetrack, it should be pushed back probably 5 feet, and then you put the Tech Pro barriers, or that's probably the Scribner barrier that they're using these days. Put that Scribner barrier up front, leave that bit of a gap, at least a foot or more, 2 feet between that and the water barrier so it can move. You put that barrier there. That way you're not getting that water pouring out. And we had, I think 4 or 5 stoppages where someone got into the water barrier and it ends up spilling it on the track. And not only is that stops the track, I'm sure that SCUSA ends up having to pay for that water barrier as well because it's obviously damaged and not able to be used again. So that's definitely something I think needs to get addressed. I'm sure you'll agree with that, Taylor.
I do, and I want to go back one more thing about, since we're talking about barriers and the track itself, is the curbing. Again, it definitely helps to have it because it outlines the racetrack. We don't need to use the barriers for that. But they did have 2 areas where they either did it, they constructed it wrong, or they put it in the wrong spot. One obviously was turn 8 with a massive, large curbing that everybody jumped over. I mean, jumped 4 feet, four wheels off the ground. It was the slowest part of the racetrack, but it was also the most air in the racetrack. It almost looked like a rallycross type event, watching the guys go over it.
So there you go. A couple of notes there, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully SCUSA will, and then they have every year kind of made some adjustments and learned more about track design. And again, you're right. That the one thing about, you never know really exactly how the racing line is going to be. They decide to put, of course, that curbing in turn number 8 going into what we ended up calling the Circus section, which was 8, 9, and 10 right in front of the hotel, the Circus Hotel. And there was that issue, as David said, guys really launching over that particular barrier, that particular curb, and then into the right-hand turn number 9. Again, I expect we're going to make changes for next year. We're going to be at a new venue, which, of course, we'll talk about later. But for now, stick with us. We got more to come on the other side of this break here on the EKN Debrief podcast. David and I will go over some of the event highlights that we saw from this year's SuperNationals. Are you looking for a new kart shop? One that treats you like you're an important customer? If so, look no further than Acceleration Kart Racing. At Acceleration, customer service is number 1. We are a full-time karting business, not a hobby or an afterthought. We have all the products you're looking for, from kit carts to shifters, safety to speed. We strive to offer our customers the best products, prices, and service. At Acceleration Kart Racing, we're always here when you need something for your racing program. Located in Las Vegas, Acceleration is stocked with a wide range of products. We've been helping racers get the right parts for over 16 years. Acceleration has everything that a kart racer needs, from turnkey carts to safety equipment, engines, and more, stocking all of the leading kart racing brands. Here's a taste of the products that we carry every day. CRG, Tony Kart, Bennett, Rotax, Honda, Miami, MG Tires, Vinco, Bridgestone, Mojo, Alpine Stars, Sparco, Ribtech, and EVS, Tillett, Micron, Alfano, Bell, Arai, Zamp, KG, Sniper, SweetTech, and KN. It doesn't matter where you live in the country. We will get you what you need so you can get back on the track. Acceleration has a sufficient supply of products to ensure that your order can be shipped the very same day. Our knowledgeable staff is available to help customers 6 days a week, and ordering online is open 24 hours a day at shopakr.com. For visitors and locals in the Las Vegas area, Acceleration has a large showroom full of the best kart racing products available. Come on in and check it out. To find out more about what Acceleration has to offer, visit shopakr.com. Again, shopakr.com. And make sure to sign up to be on our mailing list to receive the latest updates and promotions that we send throughout the season. Again, we're a one-stop shop. shopakr.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Howden and David Cole here. Episode number 12 of the EKN Debrief podcast here on the EKN Radio Network. David, let's just look at maybe some event highlights, because overall, before we jump into like the class-by-class stuff, let's have a look at some of the highlights. For me, one of the overall things I think everybody looks at, me for sure, yourself as a father, overall, a really safe event. And I think that, you know, one of the things we need to talk about when we talk about the safety of the event was SCUSA did make an adjustment after day number one. The front straightaway barrier was pushed in a little bit too close, and it was closer than even the track designers have wanted. They had eventually moved that back, probably 10, maybe 15 feet back for Thursday, and we didn't have an issue again of a driver overcooking turn number 14 and getting into the wall. That really, I think, was a major adjustment to the racetrack that did not actually change the race line itself. Most drivers, almost the same line, they just didn't get into the barrier. So overall, that adjustment, the track itself, a really safe event.
And yeah, anytime you have a temporary circuit, there's no room for error. And like you said, moving that wall back definitely certainly helped. Especially the S2 category, not to pinpoint anybody there, but that category.
No, Dave, yeah. you can pinpoint S2. They were a disaster.
It was that class was maybe the reason why the wall was moved back. But when we did move it back, or SCUSA moved it back, it was a positive move throughout the paddock for everybody. But I mean, anytime you're at a temporary circuit, when you have no room for error, you're going to get into the walls a few times, if not get run over or something like that. So we did have our minor bruises and bumps and maybe a broken finger or hand or something like that here and there. But overall, you know, it's with the safety gear that we have, and it was a safe event.
What are your thoughts on racecraft, Dave, for the weekend? Let's jump into that. 'Cause, you know, you talk about safety. SCUSA can do, or any organization can do whatever they can in terms of trying to police or starting with the layout of the racetrack, then policing. For me, and I'll come back to this all the time. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there was some amazing racing up front. Close racing, guys giving each other room. Of course, you see it in the KZ category. I always have respect for the KZ guys because they come in, for some reason, they're able to get out of turn 1, 2, and 3 without wrecking each other because they give each other room. There was some awesome racing up front, middle of the pack, even further back in the pack. Again, it comes down to guys they're not driving with respect for their other race mates. There were some issues on the racetrack with some guys just driving like absolute idiots. No doubt about it.
Well, you get that. We've seen that all year long at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour, especially in the X30 Senior. Guys are just driving over their heads. At least with them, they got through some of the opening corners a little bit better this year than they have in previous years. But there was still, just like you said, guys kind of just over driving their skill set, or just being completely retarded and just driving over people for no reason. And just for the simple fact of, I'm starting 50th, I'm going to drive up to 30th in the two corners. And it just makes no sense.
It's definitely a topic for another podcast down the line when you and I get some new podcasts going. What's one we're going to talk about? We'll bring some guests on to talk about that as well, because overall there was, as I said, there's some great racing. We were on the edge of our seats, or from the most part, people were standing up. They weren't even using the grandstands for a lot of these races because the driving was just so good. Just guys inside, outside, just clean racing. But man, you get further back there, and I guess that's the reason why you're further back. If you don't have the skill set or the mindset to be able to keep yourself out of trouble, that's one of the reasons why you start at the back. Otherwise, I was pretty impressed with some great racing. David, anything else you want to look at in terms of event highlights? I know one of the big things was the live streaming video. Such huge and positive feedback for Super Sunday streaming live, and the numbers, incredible numbers of the amount of people that were actually reached and people that were tuning in. And even now that they're posting results, or posting the videos up to Facebook, getting them back up on the SCUSA Facebook page, the numbers are huge again. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, it gives people an opportunity, like the people who were there that didn't quite get a chance to see what exactly the stream showed. I know there were people actually in the paddock that rather sat in their pit spaces watching the Facebook feed rather than going to the trackside because you could see more. So that in itself is a positive, and that goes to show that, you know, if you have a great production crew like the Greenlight guys are, or guys and gals are, you know, you can do this, you can do it right, but you gotta put in the effort, the time, the money in order to do this the right way. And obviously the SuperNats being the SuperNats, everybody's going to tune in for that.
Well, the last point you made was a big one, and it's one of the things about the sport that people don't really understand. Nobody ever considers how much it costs to do everything. They just want it. I want to be able to see it. It's a lot of money. You're talking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to do it right on live video, and the potential of getting on CBS Sports Network again next year. I don't think anything's locked in yet for 2018, but I do know that Superkarts USA is looking and saying, "Hey, man, we've got some really good feedback on this particular program." Greenlight did a great job. The quality was there, and we know we can raise the bar in terms of syncing what the play-by-play that I'm providing as well. We weren't able to get a monitor for me to actually watch off of. So I was calling the race from what I saw, and they were trying to match it up based on what I was detailing. I think there's going to be some great opportunity to do even more in 2018. David, you and I always watch the manufacturer battle. Of course, we have the EKN Constructors Championship on the website. Pretty cool to see 8 different brands winning this year at the SuperNationals. Some, of course, coming out with some big wins like Illuminos. Energy with another win. They've had a pretty good season as well, but 8 different brands, Dave, winning this year at the SuperNats. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it goes to show the diverse of the industry right now, with so many different chassis brands that are being manufactured. But not only that, but just the fact that they're successful. We've seen SodiCart be successful all year long in the shifter categories. Intrepid has always been there. CRG has always been there in the shifter carts. Luminos is now the rising star in shifter carts. OTK products have been there a long time. Only one Tony Kart win, which is
just a single win. Yeah.
So
it is.
You know, CompKart has really been improving and getting worldwide, especially with the guys who won from Australia. You know, Australia has a good CompKart following, so they were able to come over and win a couple here. So it's very diverse chassis manufacturers that we see and it could be even more. I mean, there's the Merlin brands, other brands in there that we know are very competitive, that have the opportunity to win. They just didn't happen to do it on this Super Sunday.
Yeah, that's true, and that's we do have some great brands with some incredible support as part of the program. So there's David and I's highlights. Next up, we're going to chat a little bit about the EKN live broadcast, and thanks some folks. Stick with us. We got more to come live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the EKN Debrief, episode number 12. Are you ready to start making money for winning races? Are you a club racer? Do you run a regional series? Are you focused on national events? It doesn't really matter, because you're all eligible to start cashing in on your performances. AlphaKart USA, the American importer of the AlphaKart chassis, is changing the game with their new $1.5 million contingency purse program. That's right, we're going to pay out up to $1.5 million. Win a race? win money. Cold, hard cash. Buy a new Alpha Kart Tiger 40 or Storm Evo along with a team suit from Dams Inc. and Alpha Kart USA, and you'll set yourself up to support your racing program. With our program, national event victories will pay from $1,250 to $3,000 to win. Regional races will pay from $750 to $1,250 to win, and club races will pay $250 to win. Some of the series included are the SCUSA Winter Series and Pro Tour, the United States Pro Kart Series and Route 66 Series, the California and Texas Pro Kart Challenge, the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour, Challenge of the Americas, Rock Festival, and Rock the Rio, the Gear Up F Series, and astonishingly, every single club across the United States. It's time to race for money, not trophies. Win on an Alpha Kart, and we'll support your program. For full details and requirements, head to damsinc.com. That's DAMZINC.com. Welcome back, folks. Rob Howden and David Cole here. I said live. It's obviously not live. It's a podcast. But I'm so used to saying that. It happens. EKN Live, David. We had an awesome broadcast. It's one thing you and I, we really love being able to stream live. Thursday to Super Sunday this year. Enthusiastic listenership. You know, we always ask for people to send us photos or let us know where they're listening in from. We love it when someone's rolling down the road listening in a car, or they're at home, I love when they're in the shop working on the carts themselves. We just got a lot of great feedback this year. So, of course, on behalf of you and I want to thank everybody. It was cool to hear from everyone, was it not?
It was very cool. It makes doing the work a lot better, knowing that people are actually listening in. You know, it's tough to do all the work and then hear nothing back, and you're like, oh.
It's not like we're shouting at a wall or something like that. People are actually on the other side listening.
Well, sometimes I feel like that, but that could be just me.
We had some cool interviews. You know, we got a chance to talk to Connor De Felipe. It was great to see Connor there. Of course, a guy that's gone on from karting to become a professional and a very successful sports car racer. A couple driver analysts joined us. We had Alan Rudolph, Sean Bailiff, and then on Super Sunday, Wesley Boswell stopped by to chat with me a little bit. So it was cool to have some guys on the broadcast. I want to do more of that, I think, in 2018. Got to thank SuperKarts USA and, of course, all our broadcast partners as well for making it happen. It's, you know, Dave, it's one of those things that for you and I, as we try to expand what we do with ekartingnews.com, the live broadcast, the podcast, really are going to become a big part of our program for 2018.
No, it's been fun doing this year after year, and we continue to evolve it, bringing on a number of different partners for each event. And it just further connects us to the karting community, and it allows racers who are there at the race weekend to go back and listen and hear what was said about them from all the different announcers. You, Xander, Tim Coyen. We'll have a few more in 2018 as well. So, and a lot more events too as well.
Yeah, hold on. We'll be coming out with our full EKN Trackside Live tour schedule pretty soon. I'm thinking we're going to be somewhere between 23 and 26 events next year. You know, David, one of the funny things is that when you look back at, you know, our first ever live broadcast, I can't remember even what year it was, but I know that we weren't able to get a T1 line from the Rio. I think they wanted to charge us $15,000 or $17,000 to run a T1 line out so we could do the live streaming. So I ended up buying renting a satellite that they dropped down that we had to deploy down in the paddock. This huge satellite. I felt like I was NASA or something at that point. We did our first live broadcast. I think we were sitting on top of probably a 12-foot Oakley trailer. The Vegas wind almost knocked us over a couple times. Now we find ourselves in the Cooper Tire Tower with an internet card, and away we go. It's been a wild run so far.
Yeah, well, it's amazing just to see the change in technology. Like you said, the satellite. Now we got this little card that could stream videos. I mean, before it was a pain in the ass just to do audio. Now we're streaming videos left and right. We did the live stream for the LCQs, which got a lot of people watching and tuning in for that, because obviously the LCQs are something you want to watch, and not being there, you know, you were able to go back or to go look online and watch. So it's interesting to see how the technology has evolved from the first time. I believe it was 2008 or 2009 that we did that.
something like that. And you know what? For all the people that did get a chance to tune in and enjoyed your videoing of the LCQs, David, I promise that we will buy an iPhone stabilizer for next year, so that your shaky hands don't get
It
people
wasn't
headaches
so much
anymore.
my shaky hands; it was cold hands because that wind was terrible.
If that's true, it was. Yeah, that's very true. But we will make sure you have a stabilizer for next year. Dave, let's jump into race reviews. Let's kick off with a couple of Swift categories. Micro Swift, out of the box, getting things underway. Opening lap chaos takes out the front row. I think you and I both are a bit blown away by that early on. That was tough, a tough start for a couple drivers who really had some good speed.
Yeah, with Frankie Idavea
There you go.
was super fast all week long, and just happened to just be at the wrong spot at the wrong time,
Yeah.
and he got the worst of it. And basically took him out of the running. So that always happens. We see it year in and year out at the SuperNats. I mean, we saw it with Jake Craig the last year at the Rio. I mean, he dominated X30 Senior. Came in as the Pro Tour Championship leader. Thankfully, he earned enough points throughout the first few days to clinch the championship before Super Sunday. But turn 2 got turned around, spun around. His day was done.
Yeah, exactly. How about Micro Swift? We settle into what looked to be like maybe a 2-driver battle coming to the line. It's going to be a good fight. They go over to Circus where we kind of can't see them very well. We talked about the limited views. All of a sudden, they emerge at a turn 10, and there's a pack of drivers again. It seemed like it was going to be a 2 or 3 driver battle. It ended up being, 8 guys coming across the line for the fight. It was wild.
Well, that's the one thing you can count on with the micros. I mean, they're trying to drive like veterans, but it's the blocking and the defending. It just doesn't work out. And anytime you slow down in those micros, the rest of the pack can just come right up. And I think we saw like maybe 10 guys on the last lap within the lead pack.
Yeah, Vinny Phillips ended up getting the win. Miguel Costa second, Christian Miles third, Caleb Gaffera in fourth, and Vinicius Tesoro, last year's winner, in the fifth spot. That's not how they came across the line, David. I don't want to talk too much about it. We're going to have to hit it in these 2 Swift categories, but some pretty ground-shaking issues in tech with some DQs for engine work, which was really disappointing because you never want to see that with these young kids. They're out there pouring their heart out, racing their tails off, all expecting to be able to come through and get through tech cleanly. When they're not able to do that, it's so disappointing to me.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen tech decide winners. We saw it a number of times in the Masters category. What makes it worse is that these are kids. These are kids who, especially the micros, don't work on their karts. If they're lucky, they maybe clean a tire or 2 once in a while. So that's what makes it worse is the mini and micro kids. They're kids, it's out of their hands. It's in the hands of their parents and who their parents hire to either A, take care of their cart, or B, maintain their engines.
Yep, you're right. That's tough. It happened again in the mini Swift class so in micro, a couple drivers in the top 5 getting DQ'd for something to do with I'm not going to go all the way into the technical side of it, but modification to the pistons, which of course illegal and in my opinion disgusting. Moving into mini Swift, David, mega battle. Let's just call it mega battle between the SCUSA Pro Tour champion and the champions of both the Miami International Final and the Rock Cup International Final. Carson Morgan, Brent Cruz, and Connor Zilich. For all of drop the hammer, the battle we were hoping for kind of developed, and these 3 drivers, so much talent, hammered at it, went at each other. It was awesome.
Well, the mini field, there are probably a number of other guys that could have been in this fight, but these 3 were able to be smart and get away from the rest of the group. And on Super Sunday, that's exactly what you want to do, is get away from the melee and just go out there and decide it yourselves. And so with Morgan, Cruz, and Zilich out front, it was a great battle. It was a great chess game. It was just to see who was going to strike when, who was going to be the dominant one, and we saw Morgan come away and hold off on the last lap there.
It wasn't kind of interesting to watch how they were, like the chess game they were playing, where they wanted to be. you wondered if they wanted the lead. Morgan would go to the lead. Zilich would try to come back. It was interesting that Zilich and Cruz were kind of, you know what, I'm good in second. Morgan really, really wanted the lead. And to see the mindset of the drivers, where they wanted to be, I found that to be very interesting. Morgan, of course, coming across the line with the win. But again, you talk about the fact that we had some issues. Carson, one of the drivers, getting DQ'd, bumped in tech. Brett Cruz got bumped from tech as well, the same engine builder, which is of course, there's your common denominator, and disappointing as it was. Zilich ends up with the win. Diego Conteca in second. Santiago Tricini up to third. Jeremy Fletcher in fourth. And Guillermo Figueredo in the fifth spot. How about the run, though, David, for Kai Sorensen, rookie driver in the mini Swift class? Started 41st, drove his way up to 20th. And, that's the kind of quality racing you want to see. You want to see drivers making the move forward, making that kind of progression, but racing smart and being able to get through to the top 20. I'm so impressed by what Kai was able to do.
Well, obviously he had issues in the heat races, which kept him from qualifying directly into the main event. So using his Pro Kart championship, he was able to get into the main event. So just I mean, I think sometimes starting that far back, you kind of have the advantage to get away from all the bad stuff that happens on the opening corners. So I'm not quite sure exactly. I wasn't able to follow him on the first couple of laps, but yeah, just to be able to come away and say, I passed 21 guys in 12 laps. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself.
And you're right, staying away from the opening lap chaos, then going to work. How about wrapping up the mini Swift review here with just a pretty solid little resume for Connor Zilich? A couple of decent wins in the last month of the year.
Yeah. Well, him and Cruz being the world title winners were our EKN driver of the month for October. Both of them shared that honor. So he definitely has a great resume from 2017. He probably could have won a couple of WKA championships, but he had to go to the Rock race. So that took a couple of those away. But yeah, overall, I mean, this kid, I mean, he's another one of those strong cadet drivers that we've seen just continually to improve. And I'm really looking forward to see what he can do in the future.
We'll just let Connor know you're not going to win driver of the month for November.
No,
you're not going to get 2 in a row.
No,
enjoy October.
No,
although he did a great job. All right, folks, another break here on the EKN Debrief podcast. David Cole and I really reviewing the SuperKarts USA SuperNationals. Again, a true debrief, the way this podcast will be throughout 2018. Stick with us. On the other side of this break, X30 Junior, X30 Master, and X30 Senior. All Miami after this break. This is Rob Howden, the editor-in-chief and publisher of eKartingNews.com. I hit over 20 events a year, and on many occasions I end up calling races with the Luminos drivers up front. The SKUSA Pro Tour, California Pro Kart Challenge, Streets of Lancaster Grand Prix, all the same. The Luminos drivers in the fight for the win. The Luminos team is impressive, and they're a threat to win whenever and wherever they set up the tent. The custom-designed Luminos chassis have been on fire this year, winning the California Pro Kart Challenge titles in S1, S2, S5, and S4 Supermaster. The chassis was tested and developed for the U.S. market, but it's still fully homologated for use across the world. The design features an innovative waist torsion system that provides for unparalleled chassis tuning. The kart is completed with magnesium components, and it's the only manufacturer offering 100% ceramic brakes. The Luminos is one of the best looking karts on the market, and it's winning at every level, particularly at the top step in S1. Drivers just love the feel of the chassis. The Luminos RS1 is the most popular model, a 32mm design with a mixture of soft tubing. The Rio is all 32mm soft tube, and it's the model that most of the shifter drivers in Vegas will be racing. Finally, the Estral. It's an all 30mm tubing design, and it holds the track record at both Cal Speed and Monterey. Luminos has some great drivers in their program, and they're thrilled to invite new pilots like Colton Griffin, Jimmy McNeil, Mike Mantell, John Cavacuti, Brian Keck, and Cabot Bingham. Luminos. American design, Italian manufactured, built for karting in the United States. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief podcast. David Cole and Rob Howden. DC X30 Junior. Wow. The only really word I want to use is wow, because the battle up front was just tremendous to watch. And again, really, in the end, it was Jack Crawford who stepped things up for what may be his best performance ever.
Without a doubt. I mean, being a junior rookie and to come in and kind of like what we saw with Tyler Gonzalez last year, just come in and score the victory. We've seen Crawford do the same throughout the year, being a very strong contender throughout the year. Didn't quite have enough to get the Pro Tour championship, but ending up vice champion and now going to Vegas and just show that he has the skill set to run up front anywhere he goes.
Yeah. For me, it was his show of poise and not even, I won't say patience because he pushed hard the whole time, but the poise he was able to show. He got challenged by Brock Feeney, but he just nailed those laps, especially, in all the 21 of these races that I've called. It's the way a driver performs over those last 5 laps. You can run around for the first half of the race, mid-race, or knocking the laps, whatever it may be. But it's those last 5 laps in the biggest race in the world where you really have to perform. You have to calm yourself. You have to stay focused. You can't make those mistakes that happen when you realize you have a chance to win a big race like you do. And for Jack to be able to do what he did, I was supremely impressed. National number 2 on the season, caps it off with a win at the SuperNats. Where Jack's going to go next year, whether we see him in karts or whether he goes to cars full time, I don't know. But whatever it was a really impressive run for him. Brock Feeney ended up in second, and Jeremy Fairbairn, a great run for Jeremy, kind of a breakout race for Jeremy to cap off your top 3. Fourth on the podium, and I'll tell you, and I think this was again what is expected to be his last kart race for now. He's moving to the F4 series next year. But David Dylan Tavella, national number 1, started back in the 19th position, was absolutely remarkable, knifing his way up into 4th. I think you and I followed him for a lot of the race because the overtakes he was making were the ones you've made when you've been in junior for 3 years. Decisive, taking over the apex. Every pass he made was decisive and strong.
Well, he had the fastest kart in the field. There was no doubt about that, dropping the fastest lap of the race. But like you said, he was one of those cadet drivers that was very calculated and just timed out his passes when he wanted to, timed where he wanted to be in the lead group. It just had a type of, not really perfection, but just poise that you see in senior drivers. And he was racing cadets. So now that he's been in the junior ranks 3 years now, I believe this was his 3rd year, he was able to learn the bigger karts, and obviously because of his size, he's now definitely gotten a little bit bigger than what he used to be. So it's
probably a little easier to tune the go-kart now.
That's what I think. I really think so. It's tough to be this little guy in a full size kart. I wouldn't know anything about that. You wouldn't know anything about that. So
no, I would not.
It's tough to judge that. But this year, he was impressive. And Super Sunday Drive was very impressive to see him do that.
I'm sure they would like to have capped off the karting career with a win at the SuperNats, but I think that other than winning, that drive from 19th up to 4th is one that we'll probably remember for the next number of years. Great drive for Dylan Tavella. Capping off the top 5 in the X30 Junior class, a really fantastic run as well for Sebastian Montoya. Just consistent all week long. He was there. He was in the hunts. Sebastian really kind of a breakout race for him as well. Great run for Sebastian. Moving now into X30 Master. David, this, when you and I did the preview podcast, we were just checking off all the names of the guys who have won here before. And that's one of the things about Masters racing that you and I always discuss is that these guys don't go anywhere. It's not like X30 Junior where you talk about a junior driver and then he goes to senior. The Masters guys, the pros are going to be here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And you get the Kip Fosters, the Neen Cotters, the Derek Wangs, these guys that have been around for a long time, are going to be in the fight every time. Great racing this year in X30 Master. Disappointing with what we saw on Super Sunday when they actually elected to cut the race short 3 laps after they exploded one of the water barriers.
Well, it's partly SCUSA and it's partly on them. I mean, for them, why are you running into the barriers? Don't do it. But
That's
with
true.
it being
That's very true.
Super Sunday, having 10 main events, it was kind of a time crunch. Yeah, we have lights, but again, we wanted to be done at a specific amount of time, and we were already behind schedule at that time. So it was partly on them, partly on SCUSA, because SCUSA should have never had those water barriers there in the first place. We've already talked about that. It's, again, something that they need to improve on.
True.
But yes, it's tough to see the race come to an end. I would have loved to have seen a green-white checkered, but we didn't really know how long it was going to take to clean up that area of the racetrack. So that was the main part of why I think they called the race early.
And, no, I think you're correct. I think the fact is it's on the drivers for wrecking, and it's on SCUSA for not for calling it and not having the a Scribner in front of another barrier in front of the water barriers. One thing people have to remember, and it may not be you, but there are a lot of people that book flights out of Vegas on Sunday. I don't think it's a good idea, but of course they're trying to get their kids back to school, whatever it may be. People are trying to get out of there early. So the concept is we're trying to do a time specific schedule so we know that we're going to be done by X amount of time. And it's one of the reasons why we always, when we did SCUSA in the SuperNats in the early days, we always had the podiums right after each race. You want to have that emotion of guys coming out of the carts right to the win, but it also allows people to pack up and leave if they wanted. And that really has been one of the things that there's been good feedback on, because we always got, the parents of the micros and the minis complaining that we had to wait until 6 or 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night to do the podium. So time crunch always plays it. Tough one, of course, for the drivers in X30 Master. That ends up giving Chris Walton the race win. Kip Foster ended up in second. Paulo Lopez third. Matt Johnson, a great run to fourth, and fifth was Leonardo Nienkotter. And David, I think you said it. Green, white, checker would have been nice, because you go through that top five that we just mentioned, the guys that were on the podium, and those last couple of laps were going to be good, because it's not like they were separated when we went red. It was gonna be a battle of the end. Nienkotter was coming on strong. He had turned the fast lap of the race. He was coming. Matt Johnson was ready to battle. I think that would have been a great fight, especially with Kip Foster in second. It was going to be a fight for the race win.
Without a doubt. I mean, you got just the top 10. I mean, you got Renato David, the defending winner, down at 9th. I mean, anything could have happened in those last couple of laps. So, and with it being Super Sunday, it could have been a big chaos, and it could have been anybody who came away with the win. So it would have been nice to see the green, white checkered or something similar to that. But, SCUSA made the call. It was what it was. And again, there are certain people, I mean, he knows who he is, who was complaining about, well, my cart was just coming in. Well, if it was a green, white checkered, was your cart going to be really ready for a second stint on those tires? Because again, carts act a lot different after they sit for maybe, I would say probably it would have been a 10-minute delay, if not longer.
Longer. And I didn't even think about that. What a great point. Anybody whose car was just starting to come in after 13 laps would have been out to lunch. You're exactly right. That's a very good point, David. Let's move into X30 Senior. Obviously, a lot of controversy here as well. Let's talk about that after the fact, that we give the props to Kart Republic for doing a damn good job. Dino Chiesa, brand new team, the Kart Republic program. Talk about a debut, David. Dazzling debut. Lorenzo Travasanuto comes out and essentially waxes the field in X30 Senior. He ends up getting a 3-position penalty for punching off before the start window. There was a couple of cones up there. There was a full start box to be able to start in. He rolled on the throttle beforehand. There's been a lot of conversation about it looking at the video. It's pretty damn easy to stand right there. There's an official standing right there before the box. He's going to see the guy rolling on. You're going to hear the engine spool up. You start before the box, you're going to get a penalty. Should the penalty have been 3 positions, or should it have been a time penalty? I think the latter. Should have been a time penalty. He had smoked the field by enough that the time penalty was probably going to give him the win anyways, which I think would have been more fitting. But right now, regardless, the impact was made. Travasanuto, Kart Republic, damn impressive out of the box at the SuperNationals.
Well, you hit on a number of topics. So first, let me start off with Kart Republic.
I'll let you roll through, David. The floor is yours.
Kart Republic. It could have easily been a 1-2 finish, because Danny Curley was dominant early on until he was involved in a little bit of contact with the barrier and in a heat race and took him out of contention. But he was able to climb up to 11th from 26. So he could have easily been the possible winner or provisional winner along with Travis Nudo.
Agreed.
So that was good to see. It was great to see them make a debut at the SuperNationals. We saw that with Comcart. Comcart kind of made their debut at the SuperNationals as well, and now we've seen that brand grow. So this could be another brand that we could see growing here in the United States and worldwide. So it'll be interesting to see where that brand goes. I want to talk about the start because there's a couple of things that people may not know about it. It was a penalty that was handed out a number of times throughout the weekend. It might not have been the pole sitter. It might have been the off pole sitter. It was done in LCQs. It cost, I believe, one driver, Caden Wharf, the opportunity to go in the final because he punched off too early, lost 3 positions, and thus was not able to go in the main event. But if you look in the rule book, the penalty states 1 position, 3 position, or it's all done by position. It's not done by time. So that may be something that SCUSA needs to address here, rather doing a penalty by time or by position. But right now, the rule book says position, so they have to go by position. It's probably not a fan favorite, but it's what the rules state. And I think I'm happy they stuck to their guns, and they've been doing that. And I just got the penalty sheet from the SuperNat, so I'll be going. And in my column, I'm going to be going through and counting the number of penalties that were assessed throughout the weekend. It's not very minimal. I mean, I think in one day there were maybe 20 penalties in one class, and we're talking like the Friday day where there was 2 heat races, maybe 4 heat races in a class. So, wow. I mean, you're talking there were penalties handed out all week long. So it's not like these were selective. This was a selective penalty. It wasn't. He punched off before he got to the cone. It's a penalty. It's black and white.
Black and white.
I was trying to think of the word.
Yeah. Again, I think, David, you're correct. I look forward to seeing your column. Of course, David always wraps up the weekends with his From the Tower column. Look for that on ekartingnews.com coming soon. Nonetheless, so bottom line, as I said, Travis Zanuto, impressive. What just a stellar drive other than punching off early. That's going to pass the win over to Joshua Carr. Tough. I had to do it a couple times. Actually, as the announcer, I'm rolling down there. I'm getting the grid that I'm going to do the podium with. I was the guy that had to tell Lorenzo that he didn't win the race. He was obviously quite surprised, as was Joshua Carr. It's tough, they're going to go back and look at the video with the protest. I don't know if they did or not. I'm assuming they probably did. Nonetheless, a great run for Travis Zanuto. He ends up in 4th. Joshua Carr with the win on the comp cart, as David had said. Ben Barnicoat, great drive for the guys from Fullerton, USA. Barnicoat, just a talented driver. Man, they were in the hunt all weekend long. That chassis, of course, a great piece of material. Barnicoat ends up in 2nd. Callum Bradshaw on the CRG for CRG Nordam in 3rd. Lorenzo Travis Zanuto in 4th. And Ryan Norberg up 5 spots from 10th to 5th. The national number 1 plate holder showing very well, David Cole, up to the 5th spot in X30 Senior.
Yeah, I want to go back to Barnicoat. Anytime you have Terry Fullerton working on your machine, it's a win-win. That guy is very legendary. But Norberg, top finishing American, got a little heat during the early week of the event from PSL Karting about not picking him on the podium. So hey, he showed it to us. That's exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted to see him step up because I know you love that, David. Well, again, it was only his second start at the SuperNationals. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of experience there. So it's a different ball game from racing at Newcastle to Vegas. It's a different ball game. So I was glad to see Norberg step up because we saw him step up over in France and finish on the podium there at the AMI International Final. So I truly believe now Norberg has proven to me that he is among the top drivers in the country right now.
There you go, Dave, from the mouth of David Cole. That's going to cap off our IAMI reviews from the SuperNationals on this particular debrief. Stick with us, folks. On the other side of this break, we're going to talk S4. Stick with us.
Quality, innovation, and a commitment to success. That's TV Kart USA. Within a sea of mainstream chassis, TB Kart USA is taking the American karting market by storm, winning races all over the country. We have a full lineup of chassis for all categories, beginning with our Kid and Cadet karts. For Yamaha and Tag, we offer our S55 line of chassis. And for the shifter drivers, our TB Kart S197 is the perfect fit. If you're a Briggs 206 racer, you need our purpose-built 4-cycle chassis that's based on our proven TB Kart S55 geometry. We have arrived and drive programs available for the upcoming SCUSA Winter Series in the 206 senior class, and we'll be offering seats for the main Miami and stock Honda classes as well. If you're looking for a team to race with, give us a call. We offer all levels of support, local and national events. We are here to help get you your personal racing program to the next level. Team TB Kart USA is here to work with you in achieving your goals. For more information, check us out online at www.tbkartusa.com.
In racing, you always want to be focused on improvement. Improving your driving, your braking, your lines, and your understanding of chassis dynamics. At the Rawlson Performance Group, we specialize in driver development and providing a platform to maximize every opportunity for success. Our staff is made up of multi-time national champions, SuperNationals winners, and Team USA members. We're dedicated to your development, your constant improvement, and your success. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. It's what we do. We win. RPG can provide training and trackside support for many of the sport's biggest programs. In 2018, we will be running the SuperKart USA Pro Tour, Winter Series, the SuperNationals, and both the California Pro Kart Challenge and the Can-Am Karting Challenge. If you're looking forward to 2018 and you want to explode out of the gate to put in the best season of your life, call us to reserve a space under our tent for the inaugural SCUSA Winter Series. We'll be in Florida to win championships, and we'd love to have you with us. Welcome back. EKN Debrief Podcast, the SuperNationals edition. From now on, moving forward, the Debrief Podcasts are going to be focused all on the past weekend. David and I will sit down and do a debrief on what we saw. We'll do race by race, but we'll also talk a lot about what we saw throughout the weekend. David, S4 Master and S4 Supermaster, just a really great program in terms of having guys 30 and 45 years of age and older in their respective categories, giving them the opportunity to race at the highest level. And S4, although not a massive field, like 24 drivers, really some great competitors stepping up. We had a handful of drivers who really showed the way early. But the bottom line is for S4 Master stock Honda, this weekend was all about Ryan Kinnear. He absolutely dominated the SuperNationals, and good for him. Ryan's been a top driver for the last number of years, but you got to give him props stepping up in what has been a tough second half of the season for Ryan.
It was kind of redemption because I remember, if I recall, either the last year at the Rio or it might have been the 2013 season where he was competing for the S2 win and was right in it. And it was like $1 part that took him out of the race and cost him a chance either at the Pro Tour Championship or just the victory itself. So I think it was a little bit of redemption. It was a little bit of a tribute. And just to get the first win, I think it was really emotional for Kinnear to be able to pull this off, and for Champion Racing to get back on top of the podium. I know they love the Supernats; they love being there each and every year. We've seen them be the dominant force. We've seen them struggle, but it's great to see them go back on top again.
Yeah, for Ryan, obviously losing his longtime tuner, Alan Bordes, the Frenchie as they called him, for him to be able to do that, when he got out of the car after having won, the relief you could see in his face, having got the job done, it was amazing to watch. And for kudos to Ryan for really what was a flawless performance throughout the entire week. He just kept nailing it. They kept making the car better and better and better. And for him to be able to step up in the final, just did a tremendous job. Props go, I think, as well, David, to Terry Lawrence. How about the guys from eShifterKart.com and the CKR chassis line? Those guys came over. They were running in the KZ category as well. But Terry Lawrence, a guy that, and I don't think he gets the props he's probably due in terms of the fact that Terry's a guy that can run anything. We're talking IKF Duffy winner in 4-cycle. You put this guy in an unlimited all-stars dirt cart, he'll drive that. He'll two-cycle, shifter, you name it. Terry's got a lot of talent, and he really, I think he stepped up his game and put his name back into the limelight, the spotlight, with what was really just a consistent performance all weekend.
Well, not only him, but a number of other drivers that we haven't seen all year long that were able to be strong in Vegas, and it's very difficult to do that. I mean, it's not like jumping on a bike and you just go for it, but thankfully with the Supernats, it's a week-long preparation where you can get better and better, and you want to be better when it comes Super Sunday. And obviously Terry was at his best on Super Sunday, along with Jason Faint coming up to finish second on, again,
late race pass,
a Sodi cart. That package is certainly among the dominant ones in the shifter programs. But Jason Faint and Terry Lawrence, and then Musser was there all week long until I believe it was the Heat 3 where an engine let go and kind of hurt his chances of starting on the front row. So that might have cost him the victory as well too. And then, but Jimmy, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're right. I think if he started on the front row, the fight would have been there between him and Kinnear. If you look at it, Jordan started fifth, and he had good speed, but everybody had good speed. He just wasn't able to move forward. You know what I mean, David? That's how tight this category is. He just wasn't able to move forward. And of course, Ryan able to stretch away.
Yep. And then again, Jimmy McNeil, another driver who we hadn't seen all year long, come up to finish fifth, be the fastest kart out there on the Aluminos. So go ahead.
We'll say we talked to Jimmy quite a bit, and he was just beating his head, wasn't he? He goes, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. They made wholesale changes on the car. It was his first time on the Aluminos, I believe. I think he did a little testing on the Aluminos, but Jimmy, he admitted to us, I haven't driven all year long. He's been, spending time with the family out at the ranch, and when you're running in this S4 category, he laughed at the fact that he was just behind the eight ball a little bit, and that's what like this. Look at the top 10, David. Kinnear, Faint, Lawrence, Musser, McNeil, your top 5. Alan Michelle, Chris Jennings, Tiffany Chittenden, Mike Mantell, Rob Logan. You're talking race wins, Pro Tour wins, number 1 plates, stacked. The field, the top 10 was stacked. I will say, in the preview, I said that Tiffany Chittenden was going to be in the top 10, and she ended up 8th. So I got a good run on that one. But David, it's just a stacked top 10.
Yeah, and then Logan, he had an engine change, so that cost his starting position. Otherwise, he probably could have been able to compete for a podium spot as well. So it's just
fast lap of the race.
And again, like we talked about with X30 Master, these guys, all 10 of these drivers are going to be there again next year. So for anybody wanting to come in and try and win at the Supernats, you got to beat these 10 guys and girls.
Yeah. Not one of those top 10 are going to be turning 45, so get ready. Speaking of the 45 plussers, the rock stars in the S4 Supermasters class, this class continues to grow. And again, like we said, you don't lose drivers. The only reason you don't lose a driver from S4 Supermasters is if they decide to retire off into the pasture. Otherwise, they're going to keep racing. David, there's an importance of winning the SuperNationals, and the kids, I don't think the kids fully get it. And anybody probably 15 or 16 and lower, it's a big deal. But some of these career karters have been doing it for a long time. I remember when Ethan Wilson won that race at the Rio, and I'm interviewing him after the race. He ended up getting DQ'd in Tech, but we interviewed him before Tech, and he was in absolute tears. It was the same thing for Mike Jones. Here's a guy who has won a ton of kart races through his career. But to be flawless like he was, going into the race, you and I both knew he was going to be a challenger for the race win, national number 2, but flawless all weekend long, holding back who I think figured was probably going to be the guy to win, Bonner Moulton. The tears in Mike's eyes when he got out of the cart after winning, that shows just how important this race is to people.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's why we do it. It's for the moment, these type of moments. It could be just the moments of spending time with your dad, or it could be these big, huge victories that you score. And again, Jones is another guy that puts decades of time into the sport. And yeah, he's got a number of Duffy wins and this and that, but to be able to be the best at the SuperNationals, that's what everybody's striving to be at right now over the last 21 years. You want to be the best at SuperNationals.
Yeah, a lot of wins for the Dallas Karting Complex Sody Kart team in 2017. The Supernats, though, Mike Jones is the one that gives him the big victory. Good one for him. Bonner Moulton and John Crow finishing second and third. They were there all weekend long. How about Robert Marks? Now, number one, Marks is what, 56, 57 years of age. So, that's just badass level right there anyways to be, 2 times a national champion, the whole deal. But dude, the guy ran the SuperNationals with a broken rib. You gotta give me what? That's crazy.
He's a bigger badass than me and you combined.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's to be able to run a street circuit like that with a broken rib. We've all had that. A lot of guys. Well, I said we all, but I've done it and I've gutted out at the end of a race after having popped a rib. But to spend a weekend doing that and then running to fourth, I'm telling you, Robert Marks is definitely a talent, and he really embodies the spirit, I think, of this S4 Supermasters category, and one of the reasons why it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger, because guys continue to hit that 45-year-old mark. They're getting a chance to play in their own sandbox, and one of the things I love about Superkarts USA, as we talk about all the time, their focus and their real support of Masters racing, and now Supermasters racing, has given these guys a chance to come and play on a very high level of competition.
Yeah, and again, these guys aren't going away.
No, they'll be back next year for more. Right. I love it. Nick Firestone capping off the top 5, and if we look at the hard charger, an 8-position advancement from 24th up to 16th for Vicky Bryan, the young lady. I'll say the young lady from Florida. Let's call her that. It's a Supermaster, so the young lady from Florida coming up. Great job for Vicky. David, let's head to one more break here before we rock into S2, S1, and KZ. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the EKN Debrief podcast on the EKN Radio Network. Are you a kart shop owner looking for a new line of products to put on your sales shelf? If so, it's time to make a call to Courtney Concepts. Courtney Concepts is excited to introduce white box brake pads, which are available for Tony Kart and OTK, CRG Ven 05, Burrell Art, and Bennett karts. They are available in medium and hard compounds. Courtney is also a distributor for a number of popular products used every weekend at the kart track, including Motul Oil, RK and Regina Chain, and NKP. Other products that Courtney Concepts is proud to distribute include ICO bearings, coil bearings, ARS oil seals, XAM sprockets, and Frixa brake rotors and pads. For more information on the products we distribute, head to CourtneyConcepts.com.
The 2018 season is just around the corner, and Trinity Karting Group is fired up and ready to take up the challenge. We're a full-service racing operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. We utilize Tony Kart, OTK, and IANI products, and we're your source for Avinco tires in the Midwest. For 2018, we have Arrive and Drive race programs available for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series and the Pro Tour, the WK Manufacturers Cup, and of course, the KRA Series at Newcastle Motorsports Park. If you have your own equipment, we can provide the trackside support you need to take your program to the next level. If you're interested in running with a professional team with full support, coaching, and hospitality, give us a call. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We pride ourselves on our professional approach and our positive attitude. Driver development is a big part of our program, and if your desire is to graduate into Formula Car racing, we are the official karting feeder operation for Team Pelfrey, the championship-winning junior Formula squad on the Mazda Road to Indy. If IndyCar is your ultimate goal, we can help pave the way. Let us build a custom race program for you. If you're new to the sport or a seasoned pro, we can take care of your kart racing desires. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com.
Welcome back. Rob Howden alongside David Cole, the EKN Radio Network, rocking and rolling through an EKN debrief. episode number 12 here in 2017. S2, S1, KZ. Top level shifter racing. David, let's start with S2. Semi-pro stock Honda. Another guy that I had to tell after coming across the line that he did not actually win. Jason Pettit from Illuminos, jumping the start, ends up walking away to a real, ends up going to a very impressive win, able to hold off national number one Riley Dickinson. I told Jason after it happened, of course, the guy doesn't win the race. It's gutting to have to tell somebody that they didn't actually win because of a penalty. But I told Jason, you led early, you got passed, you retook the lead, which is impressive. Then you hold off the national number one plate holder to get the on-track win. Even though Jason didn't get the victory in the end, what he was able to do, I'm thoroughly impressed. Jason really stepping up on the absolute biggest stage.
Well, he shined throughout the season at the California Pro Kart Challenge, but over the last couple of years, he quite hasn't been able to put in a strong performance at the Pro Tour. So to be able to see him do what he did at the SuperNationals, like you said, was pretty stout. And it's just gut wrenching to see a penalty like that, take away the victory like that. But again, that's it's part of racing, and it is what it is.
It is. You're right. It is what it is. Start line infractions, especially in the shifter kart category, pretty easy to see. And I know everybody says, "Oh, I saw the video. He didn't jump." When you see the video, you can't see the light. And we've always said this. It's pretty easy to pick up a start line infraction, especially if you're the pole sitter. When the light goes out, they're going to be able to see whether or not. But the bottom line is Jason Pettit ends up finishing in fourth, but he did put on a show. The eventual victor ends up being Laurent Marchandise, the French driver for CRG and CRG Nordam. He finishes second on the racetrack, scores the win. Colin Daly up there to second. Riley Dickinson caps off a fantastic season with a third place finish. Of course, national number one plate holder. Pettit in fourth and Emiliano Salazar in fifth. Fast lap goes to Sky Finley. Overall, David, were you surprised by the drivers who turned in the performances they did? Or I know in the preview, we obviously knew Dickinson was going to be there, but you threw out Colin Daly knowing he was going to be quick. You threw out Sky Finley. He was quick, ended up in sixth position. Overall, probably the drivers we expected to be in there, except for you probably could have thought Cole Bailey might have been in there if it wasn't for some issues in the heat races.
Well, Salazar was certainly a surprise. We hadn't seen him all season long.
True.
And to see him, I mean, him and Pettit were the top two guys throughout the heat races. And he led obviously early on in the race, but got shuffled back into the fifth spot. And so it was interesting to see him up there. But yeah, Finley, we kind of knew was going to be there. Bailey was there. Ads had to come up into the top 10 from starting 17th. So he kind of struggled early on. Rory Vanderster had some issues, was quick, but again, he just didn't quite have the finished pace on Super Sunday to be able to hang in there. But again, the S2 with it being sold out, there was a number of contenders in there. And again, any one of them could have been there, but it was Pettit that certainly shined throughout the week.
Let's move to S1. And for me, it's just, it's one of those deals in S1. This class always so hardcore, so high intensity. You just simply can't make mistakes. You have to be on your game. And you throw in a couple of the European factory drivers who wanted to come play. Jeremy Iglesias was in it. Paulo DeCanto came to run. But Billy Musgrave, really, this may be, David, his single best performance ever as Billy steps up, challenged all weekend long, running that Luminos chassis. And for him to get the win like he did, again, the absolute pure joy when he got out of the car having won that race, just made no mistakes. And I think that's just one of those performances. He was challenged. He really responded and scored the big win. Just an amazing run for Billy Musgrave.
Well, Musgrave was just flawless all week long. I mean, he was certainly on his game throughout the week, and that's what you have to do in order to be fast at the SuperNationals. But yeah, the combination of him and the Luminos, the time and effort that they've put in throughout the season to be fast, it's amazing. And then it's what you have to do to be fast in the S1 category.
David, Musgrave pressured aggressively near the end by Jake French, national number one, really, number one ranked driver in EKN, essentially the number one shifter kart driver in the country right now. Is this that big step for Musgrave didn't make that mistake. We've watched him be fast, and he'll make, he just maybe wasn't quite there sometimes. Is this one weekend that maybe turn things for him for next year as well? Because this guy comes out of the box, challenged aggressively, first by Iglesias, then by French. This could be one of those performances that gives him, not so much even confidence, but it's that turning point where he just was absolutely flawless.
Well, I think he's kind of been there. I mean, he's won at least once the last 3 years on the Pro Tour. He's a 4-time Pro Kart Challenge champion. So again, yeah, maybe it's just big stage jitters. I mean, maybe he's finally over that. But again, he won at the SuperNats in 2012 in S2. So sure. Maybe it's a combination of things. Like you said, maybe a little no mistakes definitely helps and keeps you at the front of the field. So it's racing. It's a fickle game. You just never know when you're going to be on it and when you're going to be off of it. And it just happened to be that I think he was just on it this week. I mean, Iglesias was right there. I mean, it's something we've seen with French for the last, I think, year and a half. I mean, he has been on the podium at every race he's gone to. So maybe this now starts something with Musgrave where he's going to be on the podium every race he goes to.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. So Musgrave with the win, French in second. Gary Carlton was right there throughout the weekend, ended up in the third position. Matt Hamilton in fourth, and Joshua Fife rounding out your top five. Nick Leduc, after some issues in the heat races, including a little flip, starts well down in the field in 23rd, ends up driving up to 7th as your hard charger. Good run for Nick Leduc. Let's cap off the gearbox categories. In fact, let's cap off our race reviews, David, with KZ. Right in the middle of this schedule here this past year, put up right in the middle of Super Sunday. Great light for the TV broadcast, of course, on CBS Sport Network, which is going to be coming out in December. You know what? It seemed to me you want a guy like Iglesias to win. He looked really good in the heat races. Anthony Abbas stepping up. Always nice to have a new winner, to take open the $10,000. But lurking back there in the top five all week, Paulo Di Canto. It's almost like he was saying, I'm good. Kart's pretty good. Oh, it's Sunday? I'm ready to go now. You know what I mean? He just works his way to the front on Sunday and ends up with essentially a dominant win. Just another great one for Di Canto, and he goes and joins that 3-win club as well.
Well, it's kind of like poker where he was sitting there holding the aces. Just wasn't showing it. Wasn't showing it. And then, finally, last card came on the board. Boom. All in, and he went all in, and I mean, it was like a switch. It was like boom.
Yeah.
It was like he gained like 0.3. But so maybe he was just sitting back there all week long, or maybe it was they just finally found the right setup for Super Sunday. But it was an amazing performance by a world champion.
Yeah, he flexed his muscles in the main event to win his third KZ final. I'd like to get all the cash because, of course, he's been on the podium as well, but just first place finishes, the 3 first place finishes, he has already taken home over $40,000 from SuperKarts USA. Pretty solid money record for Paulo Di Canto in the CRG Nordam entry. Jeremy Iglesias heads up in second. Man, got to be gutted for him because he really wanted that win. Anthony Abbas rounds out the top 3. Bas Lammers, final run for Sodi Kart after 3 years with the French manufacturer, finishes 4th. And Alex Orlando rounding out your top 5. Before we cap things off with KZ, how about Matias Ramirez? He gave me something to talk about throughout the race. Great battle up front, but Matias started 29th, David, all the way up into the 8th position. This kid is a talent on the Burrell for Anderson Racing.
Well, we've seen it on the big stage with him being on the podium at the Rotax Grand Finals. So big stage is no stranger to him. And the kid's got a lot of confidence. We've talked to him. I mean, even Saturday night after the issues that he had, he's got a lot of confidence. So that's something you need to have to be a good driver. And so it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here.
I believe they call that confidence swagger. He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I don't know about that. I like it. All right, let's go into one more break. We'll cap it off, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us. David now wrap things up here on the Debrief. In a sport where the difference between winning and losing is measured in hundredths of a second, you can't afford to leave anything on the table. You invest in the best equipment, the latest components, and top-of-the-line data acquisition systems. Anything to find one more tenth, right? I'll tell you right now, the best investment you could ever make is in yourself. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy uses the very best equipment, Burrell Art Carts. They offer half-day, 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day clinics. They have a one-on-one student-to-instructor ratio, and they will design a customized curriculum for each student. Alan Rudolph is one of the most respected people in the sport, and he has nearly 20 years' experience training drivers, including Chase Elliott, Neil Alberico, Austin Versteeg, and Sabre Cook, and rising stars like Pietro Fittipaldi. Train with a champion with almost 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Start off your season with a driver tune-up. Tune up your season with some driver coaching. Or get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. For more information, visit speedsportsracingpark.com/racing-academy. All right, David, let's wrap things up here. I got a couple of notes I had to wrap things up. I really don't, I probably scratch it out now because I really don't want to hash it and keep hashing over it, but a disappointing end for several drivers and their performances throughout the week, thanks to an illegal engine builder, which, man, I just don't like to see that. It's just not something I think we need in this sport. I understand pushing the envelope, but come on. It's all about working within the rules, and really isn't the first rule, the very top rule, spirit and intent? That's the one I think people need to keep in mind.
I mean, is this considered to be something like fighting? I mean, should it be something where you're either suspended for a year from being at any of the events, or is it a lifetime banishment? This isn't NASCAR. This isn't where you could pay money to make up for the mistakes you made, with giving money to charity or something like that. This is, I mean, you're affecting kids. I mean, this isn't adults. This isn't like when Pro Kart first started, when it was just adults going out to have a good time. You cheat. Oh, don't do it again. No, I mean, you're affecting kids. Yeah. I mean, as a father, I will never put my child in a position to where I'm pushing the boundaries of any sport or life in general. I mean, never. You never want to do that. And it's a life lesson here that should be taught. You never go that extra step that takes you too far.
Agreed. And one of the funny things, you talk to some parents, and I understand parents wanting to give their kids every opportunity to win and succeed. But the other side of the coin is, and I've seen it and talked to other parents, if you don't give the kid everything he needs, it's almost better. I think when you challenge a kid, you don't want to give them the best stuff, to give them great stuff. That way, they're going to rise up. It's not just the equipment. If you let a kid win in just equipment, it's just the equipment. If you let the kid rise up because he's got great stuff, but maybe not the absolute best stuff, he or she has risen up, and they've been able to get, go at it. Let's put that behind us.
Well,
go, Dave. Go.
The thing about it with those kids that were caught, or I should say those kids that had engines that were caught, you could put them in any cart, any engine combination, and they're still going to be fast. So that's, again, like you said, you put them in anything, they're going to be fast. Why, as parents, do you push them that far? There's no reason for it. If you know that somebody is not doing things the right way, why go that direction when you can go the right direction, the correct direction, the moral direction, and know each and every day that you're doing things the right way and you're teaching your children the right way.
As the final thought on that, here's what I want to state, because I don't. There's only one place that we can lay clear blame right now. So we're commenting on drivers and parents and how they approach it. In this particular situation, the drivers were not at fault. They are kids. They are driving.
Correct.
I'm also not going to put any blame on the parents right now, because that would be us making hearsay, saying that the parent knew that the engine was illegal. I'm not playing that card because that's nothing we know about. All we know for sure is that the engine and that builder built an illegal engine for that particular class, those particular drivers. So that's the only place that we know SCUSA has found the issue. That engine builder was deemed illegal. I would expect there's going to be some kind of penalty coming down to that engine builder, whether it's a ban, whatever it may be. But right now, you and I can have our opinions on how you present or how you support your son or daughter in terms of their driving. You're a parent. I am not. You even have a better emotional feel to it, and I'm not even going to make that poll. But bottom line, to clear everything up right now and wrap it up, driver not at fault. I'm not going to point we're going to put any accusations on any parents at fault, of course, because for all intents and purposes, in my mind, they didn't know. I'm hoping that any parent would not know that they have illegal engines on their kids' carts. Right? So let's just move that. Boom. The only issue, one illegal issue, and that is the engine builder. That stuff cannot happen. All right, David, one more thing to wrap it up, and I'll open the floor to you to see if you have any other thoughts. At the opening ceremonies, as Tom Kutcher announces, we're going back to the Rio. 2018, a long-term contract. I essentially call the Rio the spiritual home of the SuperNationals. You know, we started things off for the first handful of years out at the Rock Pile, the Las Vegas Karting Center, the X-Plex, you name it, out in Sloan. Jim Murley and Don Janowski brought us into the Rio, and it really was the place where the SuperNationals kind of exploded as the biggest event in North America. I'm happy to go back in 2018. We talk about visibility issues. We don't have that at the Rio. The 2-tier parking lot, the Masquerade parking lot, it's going to be all right. I'm looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah, it was nice to go there on Sunday to kind of it made us feel like we're back home.
Let everybody know. We decided to go for dinner at the Rio on Super Sunday night. Might as well go back early.
Yeah, to get a feel for it, like we hadn't been there before, but it felt like coming home when you walk in the door, and so to see that parking lot again and to see the iBar where a number of our friends and colleagues have spent many hours at, just being in there, it's a bigger location as far as the casino wise itself and hotel itself, so it didn't feel cramped and congested, and it's probably gonna feel a lot better to go back there in November, I think, than go back to the Westgate.
I think that all the stuff you talk about, whether it's the atmosphere that we have and the familiarity we have inside the hotel, a better restaurant selection in the hotel itself, the track itself, we're gonna absolutely fill that place in terms of room for a paddock. But as I said, the 2-tier, the elevated part of the paddock looking down on the racetrack, the visibility is going to be there. And I think SCUSA's learned a lot. It's been 3 years since we've been there. So I get a chance to kind of get a better feel of how we want to approach. They've learned more things. So bottom line is SCUSA back to the Rio for 2018 and beyond. I think it's going to be a really good move. David, that's it. We're going to wrap things up here. Any other final thoughts before we cap off this debrief?
That's it. Rio, baby.
The Rio, baby. We'll be back again next week with another EKN podcast. There's going to be a new name on it, something fresh. The EKN Radio Network. We're going to pull the trigger on that in December, folks. Be ready for that as well. As we said off the top of the broadcast, make sure you head to iTunes and search EKN Radio Network. Subscribe there. You'll get all the podcasts right to your mobile device. We're going to cap things off. And again, we want to thank our sponsors who stepped up for our coverage of the SuperNationals this year on the EKN Live program. Our broadcast partners included Cooper Tires, Acceleration Kart Racing, Alpha Kart USA, Illuminos, Trinity Karting Group, Courtney Concepts, Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, TB Kart USA, and the Rawlison Performance Group. On behalf of David Cole, this has been Rob Howden. This has been an EKN Radio Network production, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now.